July is upon us, so here are 10 of the games that you should be keeping an eye on. Hello there folks, it's Aaron here from Push Square, and while we may be in the quieter months, that doesn't mean there's not plenty to be excited about. So from long-awaited gacha games to management sims, here are 10 new PS5 games that you should check out in July 2024. The latest expansion to Final Fantasy XIV lands on PS5 on July 2nd. Dawntrail is the massive expansion for this ongoing MMO that will thrust players into a new land of blue seas, mountainous peaks, lush forests, and a new ancient city. Alongside that, there will be new tribes, familiar faces, and formidable threats. There's a lot here for continuing players such as the Viper class, a new playable race, a level cap increase, new dungeons, gear, recipes, and a new 8-player raid series called the Arcadian. It's not just new content however, as Dawntrail will also introduce Final Fantasy XIV's first graphical update, which will bump resolution, textures and shadows, material qualities, and something it's called improvements to screen-wide aesthetic appeal. Fair play Square Enix. If you want a game to play with some pals, then the First Descendants is an action-packed third-person looter shooter where teams of 4 can take on colossus bosses and collect reams of cool loot, of course. It's an action RPG, so you can delve right into the lore and your character builds, which in all honesty is kinda reminiscent of Anthem to me, which I think is a good thing. The game focuses on a freedom of movement with grapple hooks mixed with a collection of primary weapons, secondary accessories and sub-weapons, and combining all of that with 4-player competitive play, there's a lot to dig into with the First Descendants now that it's dropped on PS4 and 5 as of July 2nd. Zenless Zone Zero is the long-awaited gacha game from HoYoverse, which is launching on PS5 on July 4th. Set within the city of New Eridu, you're surrounded by the post-apocalyptic realm called the Hollows, where you'll manage a squad of characters, all with unique abilities as you take on colourful enemies. When in the city, it's all about managing those relationships and building up the perfect team for when you eventually venture out into the Hollows. It's one of those games where you could just sink hours upon hours into it. The very next day, we have The Legend of Heroes Trails of Daybreak, which launches on both PS4 and 5 on July 5th. Set in Zemuria, this is a new story in the Trails series that sees you play as a Spriggan, a mercenary essentially that does the jobs that the police can't, acting as everything from a detective to a bounty hunter. This entry features a mixture of real-time and turn-based combat, magical abilities, plenty of enemies, and a shifting story that is impacted based on your very own decisions. For returning fans of the Trails series, this is a refined and more action-packed approach to combat that still retains that feel of the games that you love from the series. Nobody Wants to Die is a hard-boiled detective story set in a dense cyberpunk world where immortality is in fact possible, but only for the mega rich. As Detective James Cara, you take on an off-the-books case to root out the secrets of the city's elite. There's a time mechanic central to figuring out the game's murder-tinged mysteries, and you'll be piecing it all together with a multitude of sci-fi tools. The game is running on Unreal Engine 5 as well, so things are looking real snazzy in this release. I love these intensely focused narrative sci-fi experiences, so I'm personally really looking forward to this one when it drops on PS5 on July 17th. Another game coming to PS5 on July 17th is Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus. This is a 2.5D action platformer with a gorgeously cozy art style that for some reason is reminding me of that movie Kubo and the Two Strings. This is a hand-drawn adventure based on the mysterious world of myth and legends from Japanese folklore, with a keen focus on the acrobatic grace and agility of Bo, the character that you're playing. You'll master new transformative skills and abilities to take on massive monsters as you explore castles, cities and other weird and wonderful places in an interconnected world that weaves in Metroidvania elements. Originally on the Nintendo Switch, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Sweep the Board is coming to PS4 and 5 on July 16th. This is the board game debut of this anime series, filled with events and minigames for up to 4 players. You'll roll the dice in hope of becoming the strongest Demon Slayer swordsman whilst visiting iconic locations from the anime. With plenty of iconic characters to play as, you will face demons, break an RP, face off in competitive minigames, and experience events as you venture across the actual board with familiar faces from the series cropping up along the way. From the makers of Ashen, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn is a roguelite, where as members of the Coalition Army, you'll fight against the fury of the gods and their armies of the dead. Melding gunpowder with magic, your character Norvanek will utilise the ability enabling Foxy companion Enki, with your powers only growing as you delve deeper into the game. Flintlock supposedly fuses a rapid mobility with its Souls-like tie-ins to achieve dynamic and explosive combat, which will upgrade via new equipment, weapons and upgraded gear. And it's all building to a massive confrontation with the gods themselves, which you can try out when the game comes to PS5 on July 18th. As if Madden wasn't quite enough, College Football 25 is here as what I can only perceive as the FIFA Street of the Madden series. This one is dropping on PS5 on the 19th of July, bringing with it a more approachable American football experience that still lets you take on the coach and player roles and really get into the weeds of tactical play. This entry has an eye for detail with authentic soundscapes of your favourite legendary stadiums, which offers up an authentic and fast-paced college football experience via composure systems, wear and tear on players, and even diverse playstyles across the 134 FBS teams included. Arriving on July 23rd on PS4 and 5, our final entry of the month is Formula 1 24. That's right, a strategy sim where you're tasked with leading your Formula 1 team to glory. A new feature to the series is that you can now create your very own Formula 1 team from scratch, customizing every aspect from the design of your racing suits to the sponsors you glue all over your car. And things are deeper than ever because the game now has a mentality system to deal with, meaning that you have to keep your staff motivated whilst negotiating contracts in a dynamic system, all while chasing down those podium finishes. For those that love to get into the nitty-gritty of a speedy Formula 1 game, this is a solid and reliable sim experience. So there you have it, 10 of the biggest games heading to PS5 in July 2024. Let me know which of these you will be picking up down in the comments below, and while you're there, consider leaving a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, I've been Aiden, and this has been Push Square.